Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this IFA MAC Townhall webinar. As always, we'll give it a couple of minutes just for members to join. I know we have 105 registered today, which is fantastic, and hopefully everybody's trying to join at the moment. So we'll give it a couple of seconds more, and please use the chat box to welcome to welcome other members. Going up slowly. Okay, I'm conscious of time and that we're all very busy people, so let's get matters on the road. So welcome everyone to the quarterly MAC meeting town hall. This is all about us as members engaging and sort of sending questions to us as ambassadors and my invited guests. But as always, from a housekeeping point of view, as we've probably said this for the last 5 years now, there may be some technical issues, so please bear with us if that occurs. The Q&A and chat box located at the bottom of your screen. So Q&A box is the one that I will monitor. Please, can I ask as many of you to ask any questions you would like us to answer, and I'll try and get to them. Because I say, this is all about engaging with you as members, as we are, about the Institute from a day-to-day activities, if you've got any questions that you want answered, but also obviously bear in mind our invited guests that I will introduce shortly, who are here to answer questions as well. Today's webinar will be recorded as always, and obviously can be sent around to those who have joined us. Thank you, Hayley. So one of the questions I was going to ask, and I will do some poll questions during this hour's meeting, is do you know your ambassador? So for myself to introduce, I am Ian Hornsey. I'm the East of England Regional Ambassador. I'm also Chairman of the MAC, the Members Advisory Committee, and a Director on the IFA Board. I am joined today by Robin Murray, who is the Northern England Regional Ambassador. Welcome, Robin. And unfortunately, Ermal Krutani, who's the London Regional Ambassador, is currently flying back into the UK. Mujibur, who is the Midlands Regional Ambassador, is flying out of the UK. And unfortunately, Bill McGregor, who's Northern Ireland Regional Ambassador, unfortunately has a hospital appointment. So they send their apologies that they can't join us today. But I am pleased to say that I'm joined firstly by Arthur Burt from the IPA in Australia, who's currently over here in the UK, and I'll ask him to say a few words shortly. And also by, and I'm sure you will all know, this very famous face, Tim Pinkney. Welcome, Tim, who again will introduce himself shortly. Just a little bit of further housekeeping. Next screen, Hayley, please. Just a quick reminder, obviously we're now mid-September, and I'm sure we're all thinking about CPD, ensuring that we've all got, Tim's smiling there, that we've all got our required hours, because the end of the year is coming upon us very quickly. Not sure where time goes. And whilst everything is on the IFA website, just a little reminder of some of the upcoming online CPDs events. Obviously we have members around the world, so obviously we will advertise webinars, say in the UAE, as you can see. We have financial reported updates on the 17th of September as well. IFA charity webinars, very important to keep up to date. Very worthwhile attending if you get involved with charities. on the 23rd and 30th of September. EB Now, one of our strategic partners. Again, I know they've gone around the country to the different regional meetings. But again, it's something I believe is quite important for us to be aware of about tax savings for our clients and employees and employers. So they are running a webinar on the 15th of October. Webinar series, Price Your Services with Confidence. That's a very interesting one. I always say to people in practice particularly that, you know, we are in business, we are running a business to make a profit, and none of us should shy away from that, basically. And I think the more we can learn of how, and I know it can be difficult in how we charge clients and asking for more increases and things, but obviously there's more and more being put on us as practicing accountants, and I think sometimes you just have to be very upfront and honest with clients. So again, those webinars are being held throughout November. And of course, the IFA International Conference is on the 6th of November. As you can see, early bird offer ends 30th September. Whilst it's international, we live in a global world that, you know, a day the more and more, especially in the digital world. So I think it's very important that we understand what that means to us, not as just as IFA members, but as part of the IPA group around the world and what's happening. So if you've not already signed up, it's good CPD. Please go and have a look this afternoon and take advantage of the early bird offers. Thank you, Hayley. I think so. Obviously, face to face, we've always said, you know, it's important that not only do we do digital online, but we do have the regional face to face events. Now, I know the North of England one, as you can see down that list, on the 22nd September, next Monday. It's the night before the North of England Countex. Robin is obviously your regional ambassador, will be hosting that meeting. And myself, Jonathan Barber and Tim Pinkley will be at the meeting, and you will be hearing further from us on some topical subjects. So please, if you're local to there, come and support the regional meeting, come and support your ambassador, because I think that's quite important. Robin, do you want to say something about Monday?
Yeah, I mean, the other point about that one is that I'm thinking that people, if they want to come from further afield from different regions, I mean, I know I've got a big region anyway, but it's possible, you know, you can travel because Accountex is the following day. It's worthwhile sort of traveling up, staying over, coming to the branch meeting, and then doing the Accountex the next day.
Yeah.
That was partly why I try and have it then, so it can be open for the rest of the nation effectively as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter where you are. So again, just because it's all about traveling, if you're in the area, come along to your local, you know, the regional meetings, really. So East of England one, my one, 29th of September, we do have HMRC talking about MTD. They've agreed to come to some of the regional areas, certainly my area and London. Because this is all about numbers. HMRC will not come unless we can get members there. So again, this is why it's very important that you support your regional meetings, because that means we can raise the bar in getting speakers that are beneficial for you to come along, as well as that networking event as well. Northern Ireland, Scotland, obviously 16th of October, and Southwest, 25th September, 27th of November. Thank you, Hayley. So I mentioned earlier that obviously we have two guests today. Arthur, I'm going to hand over to you. Would you like to, I know you attended a couple of these meetings, but would you like to say who you are, a little about yourself, and what you want to hear from members?
Thanks very much, Ian, and apologies to those who might have been expecting an Australian accent when I was introduced as being from the head office in Australia. It's not how we all speak in Melbourne, although I don't think that would be a bad thing. So I am the IPA's Director of Professional Community. I look after the advisory committees, and we've just had, as Ian was saying before, it's all about trying to get members involved and contribute to the organisation. It doesn't happen overnight. We've just gone through our nomination process for the 6 advisory committees in Australia, and through that, 40 nominations, 48 interviews. We've got 14 new members, 14 people who've never been on the advisory committees before. And that's, you know, the people on here are the representatives. You're their constituents. So they are the people that you should be going to with the issues that you're facing professionally and with the Institute. It really is all about getting member involvement. So what I really want to see is just that increase in involvement and contributions for members.
Excellent. Thank you, Arthur. That's very important. That's the message we're trying to get over to everybody that attends these meetings. That we do want to hear from you. And it doesn't matter, you know, obviously what the question is. If we don't know the answer, we'll come back to you another time. But to be fair, this is our institute. We, you know, without us, there is no institute. And I think it's important that we play our part in it. But let me just, so I'm sure most of you will know the next gentleman. Tim, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Ian, and good afternoon to everybody. I'm Tim Pinkney, IFA Director of Professional Standards. Look after all things concerning compliance with the regulations, money laundering regulations, public practice regulations, conduct committees, enforcement action, that type of thing. So any queries you have on anything related to public practice, I know we're going to touch on Companies House reforms, so I'm here to ask questions and give advice if I can on that. I've been heavily involved with the implementation groups of putting together the guidance with Companies House, the Home Office and various other professional bodies. So happy to take any questions and hopefully allay any fears and bust any myths. So looking forward to engaging with members.
Right, thanks, Tim. So I do like a little poll because I think it helps us all get going a little bit. And please take part. We don't know who is answering yes, no, etc. So don't feel frightened that you think you're going to get found out. You won't. But hey, if just on number one, this is out of interest for us. So there was a town hall held by the APA group that went out, was advertised, and I would just like to know roughly how many of today's people attended or did not attend. So could I ask you just to fill that in for me? And it's a yes or no answer. Give it a couple of seconds, and then I think Hayley will put up the results. Can you do that? Okay, now that is interesting because, funny enough, one of the matters I've been discussing with Arthur before this meeting, because this is all about integration between the different members around the world, and particularly in Australia with the IPA. And we need to do some work, I think, on that, Arthur, to make sure that, because what I want to do for next year is have at least one, if not two, global town halls that we are very much involved with. Because I say we're living in this world that, you know, cross borders and things like that has an effect on what we're doing, what our clients are doing, and what our jobs are doing. And I think that's important to hear from people around, especially as we belong to nearly a 50,000 member group. So Arthur, can I leave that with you to look at further? Do you want to make a comment on that? So.
Yep, no, I think that's perfectly valid. That, you know, if we mentioned before that those town halls that come out of Australia can be a little bit Australian centric, and we have to get more used to groupthink, and especially with advisory committees coming out of China and Malaysia, it has to be more of a group focus. So I'll certainly be taking that on board.
Thank you, Arthur. And my second poll, Hayley, obviously I've introduced who your ambassadors are, but specific question, do you know your regional ambassador? I know we've asked this in the past, and there may be new members here today or ones that have always attended, and thank you if you have always attended the town halls. But again, just from us as from myself today and Robin, you know, in the different regions, do you know who we are and how to contact us? So again, if you could just give us an answer to that. Be an interesting one, Robin. Whenever you're ready, Hayley.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows me.
That's better, isn't it?
Oh, we're okay.
That's good. As long as they know us in the right way, Robin. So 70% yes, and 30%
we've got
no.
less than half of people responding though.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So maybe if you add that other half that say didn't respond and didn't dare say, perhaps they wanted to say no but didn't dare.
But it comes back, everyone, to that real engagement that we need to be having with you as members. Because I say, Robin's a member, I'm a member, we're accountants, that's our day job. No different to you guys, whether you're in practice or in industry. And again, this is where, we've got to look at the future of how we're doing things, how the IFA works. And the IFA, as an institute, can only work with its, for its members and with its members. So again, whilst Robin and I sit here, month after month, etc., we need to look at that new blood. We need to look at the next generation of members who want to put their hand up and volunteer and be involved. Really, I find it, and I'm sure Robin will agree with me, very rewarding. My view is, accountancy has done me well over the years. I cannot complain at all. I now put my time back into it because I believe in the IFA and what we can achieve as members for ourselves, but also for our work and or our clients. And we've come such a long way, in my view. Robin, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's right. So I put that up. I think it's important. It's not just volunteering. Can we expand that voluntary roles as well to things? We need to get involved in our communities. We need to be involved in, to make things better. And that's probably, yes, we're providing a service of crunching numbers, but we are out there to help our clients to grow. We're wanting, but there's also a whole range of things that our clients are maybe interested in. We're interested in. It could be the local model railway society that we want to support. It could be a sewing circle that needs some help and volunteers. But ultimately, part of what I think we're trying to create is within part of being a IFA member is we're also not only supporting the IFA, but we're willing to support our communities, and volunteering is a big part of that. So yes, volunteering. Yeah, I might gladly step down if somebody wants to take over. But
I think this is where, whatever region you live in, guys, this is about helping your regional ambassador, learning what happens. And obviously, the regional ambassador then sits on the client members advisory committee. So we have the ear to the chief, sort of the executive director. Obviously, I sit on it as IFA board member, and therefore, that we as a board then report into the IPA board. So there's not lots of layers where a lot of institutes, especially UK institutes, you are just a number. It's important that we stay as a family, that we're here. So, and I've just seen a message on there. Somebody's joined us from Ghana. So that's fantastic. So as you say, look, we have members around the globe, which is fantastic. I'm conscious that we're waffling on slightly. So I'm keen for Tim and Robin and I will join in. Just talking about the Companies House reforms. I know it has been some concern to members and lots of different information coming out, Tim. And I know we will be doing more on this subject as well, but can I get you to kick off maybe a discussion and some details?
Sure, thanks, Ian. Yeah, there's a lot of discussions going on about this. There's a lot of things changing, and I'll put some links into the chat box actually, which members might find really helpful on changes to company law and Companies House at a glance, which are really helpful. But in terms of ID verification, this has come about the Economic Crime and Corporate Reform Bill, which was implemented in 2003, when a lot of things have already been implemented. A lot of phased implementations going on. But for our members, certainly in the UK, but also potentially if you're providing these services from overseas, relates to the authorised corporate service provider and client ID verification. The key dates really for client ID verification is that at the moment it's all voluntary to be able to do this, but from the 18th of November this year that will become mandatory. There is a lot of guidance about this, and in order to ID verify somebody, you need to be registered as an authorised corporate service provider, and to do that you have to go online to the .gov site with Companies House and register your practice. To do that, it has to be registered by the most senior person. So if you've got staff, you don't have to register all the staff, you register as the most senior person, and during that process you have to be ID verified yourself. So you will need certain documents with you, like your passport and any other identity documents. It costs £55. It's a one-off fee. Once you're an authorised corporate service provider, you don't need to pay again. You don't need to re-register. You can manage that yourselves and your firm. That gives you the option, and I say option because I'll come back to this, to ID verify people. So from 18th of November this year, it becomes mandatory for all new directors and persons of significant control. Also, you will need to be an authorised corporate service provider to upload documents from the 18th of November on behalf of your clients, such as confirmation statements, accounts, etc. So you'll need to be an authorised corporate service provider if you provide these, but you don't have to do the ID verification. This is an area that's caused a lot of discussion when I've engaged with members about this, because it's quite involved. It's not like AML. There is certain crossovers with anti-money laundering, but ID verifications is absolute. You have to go through these processes. So there are two options really to IDV, if I can call it IDV instead of ID verifications or from now on. There are two options. One is where you have software and a biometric passport, and software will often involve a smartphone and taking pictures of the passport and doing it this way. This has to be approved software that's listed on Companies House. This can cost money. This goes forward and you can use this platform. And I think that is the way forward for a lot of the bigger firms that are going to operate and offer these services. But I would say for a smaller practitioner, do you need to do this? Because the second option is you can actually go and look at somebody's passport and feel comfortable that those ID documents meet the standards, and I'll put the guidance to Companies House standards. You have to ensure that your staff have been trained to do this, that have certain, it doesn't go as far as to say certificates, but they must have appropriate training to be able to recognize when a passport's been tampered with. Has it been used for illicit purposes in the past? And my issue with this is the liability is then put on the verifier, if I can say that. Put my teeth back in. So Companies House offer this service for free. So a client could go direct to Companies House and do their ID verification. They get an 11-digit reference number, which they can then use. That then stays with them for life. It's a bit like a national insurance number. Once they've been IDV'd once, it doesn't need to happen again unless there's certain circumstances where Companies House have got some suspicions or concerns about the identity of a specific person, and they can request the original verifier or the actual director or PSC to actually re-verify. And my point to practitioners, I'd be interested to know, do you want to take on that liability? So if something goes wrong with that and that passport has been used, let's say it's been created by an organised crime gang, you've then verified it using what knowledge you've got, but you potentially don't have that expertise, and why should you? We're accountants, aren't we? We're not validating passports. That's not our job. We don't want to spend additional money on software that can do this potentially. Why not say to your client, actually, you can do this. Here is the links. Go away and do that. Then give me the ID number. That takes away the liability for any future claims against that practitioner. And to me, for a lot of members, that's a serious option that they should consider. It takes away the risks. Obviously, money laundering, this part of it can be actually part of the ID. You know, if you're doing the verification, there is an element of AML within that in terms of know your client. But obviously, you still need to do the risk assessment, the source of funds, enhanced due diligence if there are certain risks. So it goes further. So there is a little bit of crossover. And I would certainly be interested to know from practitioners if they've registered as an ACSP, and to do that, as I say, you go on the .gov site, register, you give your AML supervision number, professional body. Now that is your firm number for those that haven't done this yet. It's not your membership number, it's your firm number. And that ties into a database that we update every 2 weeks directly with Companies House to show who we supervise and who we don't supervise. It's quite a lot of work that we do. We also do the same with HMRC for TCSP. And I would argue that if you're actually going to be an authorized corporate service provider, you should also be registered for TCSP AML supervision. And by stating that you provide these services in your annual returns, and if you start to provide them and you haven't said that you do, please get in touch with us so that we can update you on the register, because HMRC supervise AML for TCSP, Trust and Company Service Provision, and we update a register for that type of work as well. So there's lots of questions that I would raise. I would ask, has anybody registered? Have you experienced any problems that I can help with? Have you got any concerns about this? I mean, I don't know. Do we have a poll on this?
Yeah, so I was going to say, Tim, Hayley, can we do number 4 on the poll, just so that we just get a feel for the people with us. So it says, are you aware of the new Companies House and ID requirements? So very simple, yes or no.
Yeah. While people answer that, so the 18th of November is a key date this year, because all new directors and PSCs must have an ID verification number. That date also kicks off the year's transition date. So all those that existed, so if you have clients that are already part and parcel of your client portfolio, and you provide services for them like confirmation statements, at the anniversary within that next 12-month period, they will need to be ID verified. So all existing directors and PSCs will need to be verified during that period.
Yeah, so you can see from the poll, so 84 over 16, so that's good. But again, as an institute, we're here to help and give more guidance and not hold people's hands, but because obviously you have your CPD requirements, but haven't they, Tim? But again, the more we can explain, etc., and help, then that's what we're here for. I suppose, Tim, the question I had, and again, please, it's all about you guys out there, not just us on the screen. Please do ask Tim any questions, or us. No question is silly, put it that way. I'm always, when I was young, I always thought, I can't ask that. But actually, everybody's thinking the same thing and then not asking it. So I suppose, as you say, with these changes, it ties in with that AML, anti-money laundering, and I can see that the government had to do these changes, because we've all seen on the news about people setting up bogus companies using somebody's address. It's got to happen, because we've seen it as accountants, that people can just set up anything called Mickey Mouse and things. So again, from our own AML requirements, Tim, do you see this as being a good way forward of, it's about, because we don't know whether a passport is, I looked at an article yesterday about AI and deep fake, and criminals will use that to trick us and whatever. So although, so the options are they obviously do it themselves, or you use the online verification software, which again is a charge. But do you think that is something we should be looking at anyway, just to safeguard ourselves, ignoring the company's house side of things, to ensure that we are dealing with who we're dealing with?
I think it's horses for courses, Ian. I think it really depends on your client base. If you're a small practitioner and you meet your clients, they're all from a local radius, they're all local small businesses, you've got active involvement, like Robin said, as a business advisor, a trusted partner in helping them develop their business, and you actively know who these firms are, then from an AML perspective, if they're low risk, electronic verification is gold plating. Now, some people might make that business decision to do that, and that's great. And I think there is an argument to say we should be doing that. But I would also say the money laundering regulations enshrine a risk-based approach. If your blanket processes don't really look at the individual risks, then you're missing a trick. So you need to look at that. So yes, I think for some firms, definitely there's risk profiles that would suggest this would really help them. But for other firms, if they're small practitioners, it might not be necessary, but it could be a good step forward. Electronic verification doesn't replace the need to retain copies of passports. No. So one of the key changes, one of the key differences between ID verification. ID verification, you must retain the original documents and evidence of what you've done, whether it's option 1 via a biometric passport, or option 2 where you've got some way of investigating and checking out the validity of the documents that you're looking at. Either of those options, you must retain that for 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, if you retain that for longer than 5 years, you're potentially in breach of data protection regulations. Anti-money laundering says you must retain that. No, it's 7 years, sorry, for ID verification. You must retain that for 7 years. Money laundering is you must retain it for 5 years after the business relationship's ended. So that you still need to retain these documents. So one doesn't replace the other at the moment. So you've got two systems going alongside if you choose to use both systems. But yes, to answer your question, I think something that firms should consider and look what's best approach for them.
So we got a question. If you ask your client to get ID from Companies House, as a practice owner, do you still have to register your practice with Companies House?
If you're not going to do anything with Companies House, you don't need to register. But going forward with your clients, if they're registered on Companies House as a corporate entity, the chances are you might be asked to submit a confirmation statement or submit accounts or a change in PSC or a new director form. If you're doing any transactions with Companies House, you will have to register as an authorised corporate service provider. That's that one-off registration costing £55, where you will need to verify your identity, and that goes from the AML supervision, which we confirm every 2 weeks. That doesn't mean that you have to do ID verifications. And ID verifications, as we've already discussed, is a separate entity. It's about value. It's about where do you see your priorities? What services do you want to provide for your clients? The IDV code, it's an 11-digit code, never changes. I could change my gender, but my ID verification code will remain exactly the same. So it's something that you can get your clients to do and pass on. It's a really simple process with Companies House. Takes less than 5 minutes if they've got the documents to hand, which are like passport, driving license, gun license, anything with a photo ID, and a way for them to do it. There are ways that you can do it at the post office and various other areas, but the easiest way is to go onto the .gov site. It takes a matter of minutes.
Okay. Robin, can I bring you in here? What sort of, you're in practice like I am. What have you done so far? What's your thoughts?
Well, I got my AS, whatever it is.
CSP.
Just before the last MAC meeting, I was quite pleased to get that. That was a goal in my biz practice. Because yes, I know I've still got to do the accounts and then do the confirmation statement and other company secretarial stuff that needs doing. They have made a decision that basically I'm going to handhold people to get their do it themselves directly through the system. Because otherwise I can say, well, I can see that we might go and ask them to do it, but I can see they won't do it because they won't see it as important. Until the company's being struck off, I can see that they're not going to do it. Maybe I'm being too cautious, I don't know. But I think a lot of them, I'm going to have to go and see them, sit down with them, handhold them through the system, because I don't like the risk of if perchance that I've been hoodwinked all along, I don't want it.
No, and that's a very good point, Robin. As Tim said, today we are not experts at this, and
No.
and criminals are very clever, unfortunately. And to say we live in this very, very different world. So like you're saying, there is a cost factor, there's a time factor for us.
Yeah, there'll be a time factor.
So one of my questions, Hayley, I think we can push up, is I think number 6, Hayley. I've just asked a question, will you be charging additional fees to cover the additional requirements? Now, I've just put that out there because of what I said earlier. That today, if you are in practice, and I know not all our members are, and some are in the industry, but if you are in practice, we're in practice, it's our job to make a profit to live and or pay our staff and things. So again, what I'm trying to get across to is this has been put upon us, and therefore have we thought about how that affects our relationship with the client? How do we charge for our time? That no doubt, as Robin has said, will be evident that we will need to hold clients' hands a little bit and things. So hopefully you can answer that just to get us a little feel for it. And when you're ready, Hayley. So that's a little bit more close, isn't it? So it's good that 60% whose answered are saying yes, you have. Obviously, I haven't asked the question, are you going to? What I'm trying to do is get you to think about it. Because obviously we've got 40% of people who have answered the poll saying they haven't. So I think, thanks, Hayley. So I think it's an interesting one because it moves on to everything that's changing in our world, in as much that, MTD, we had a really good session last time about MTD. It's moving on. Obviously, we've got HM Review Customs really engaging with us, aren't they, Tim, and things. So I think, it's important that you as members think about it. And if you need to speak to somebody, give one of us a call and just run through what we think and just give us an idea of what if it's worrying you. And I think that's how we should work, isn't it, Tim, really?
Absolutely. We're there to air your voices. And we attend too many stakeholder groups with HMRC almost weekly. I attend a lot of meetings with Companies House, certainly leading up to the implementation of this. And it was always important to be able to give a voice to our members. So I always erred on the caution of, actually, within these meetings, we've got representatives from KPMG and all these people, but who's speaking up for the smaller practitioner? And that was me in these sessions. So I represented the accountancy and somebody from ICAW represented the accountancy sector as well. So between us, we sort of combated everything and tried to tie the guidance down. I must admit, I still think they've missed a trick of the government by not aligning it with AML requirements and making it one and the same. But hey, that's where we are. The other thing I should mention, I'm just putting a few links in here. These are like changes to company law. the ACSP. I'll put something in about the guidance as well in the chat. Please download these documents. They're direct from Companies House, but they're very useful documents. The other thing I'd mention, Ian, is we don't know what the penalties will be if you do fail on this. So I think the first instance, Companies House will be holding people's hand, and if people make a mess of it, if I can put it that way, or help them through it. But actually, they are now part of the money laundering. It's called Regulation 52. It's an information sharing gateway. This came in last year, where Companies House can now share real detailed information with professional bodies, and we can share it with Companies House where we have concerns that there is the new term professional and enabling money laundering. That could be setting up corporate structures that are opaque in nature or using false identities. I should also say, Ian, just quickly, we issued an alert, an AML alert, probably 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, about the emerging risks of AI being used in the production of client identity documents. So check that out. That if you're going to go down ID verification and going to look at the training, build things like that into your training regime so that you can identify what you've done.
Yeah, no, that's going to say, you know, it's ever changing, isn't it? And people will try and get round it somehow and things. So,
yeah.
Arthur, I just, you know, obviously I know Australia is now facing anti-money laundering regulations and things, and like companies in Australia. I mean, I know you're not on the coal face, if you know what I mean, but where's your thoughts on where's this going, maybe in Australia and for the IPA groups?
Putting you on the spot there, Arthur.
Yeah, sorry. I told him I'd put him on the spot. And you're on mute.
I've got to myself off mute. Yeah, it's certainly not something that I'm involved in as heavily as some of my colleagues in the advocacy and technical side. But just speaking to members, because I speak to a lot of them, there are some trepidation, some concerns about what it's going to mean for them and their clients. And we're releasing guidance, and we have got some training happening. And I think isn't Tim Think's going to be there at our National Congress in Hamilton Island in November to basically reassure members about what's going to happen in Australia. So we're doing our best to equip them with what's necessary when it eventually happens. But I think just from talking to members, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of trepidation, a lot of concern about what it's going to mean for them and their businesses.
And that mirrors, Arthur, what we experienced in 2007 and 8 when the accountancy sector was first brought into the scope of the money laundering regulations, which was then updated in 2017 and expanded. But it's amazing, still we see the same compliance deficiencies when we conduct AML reviews that we did in 2008 and 9. And you could say, well, that's down to our training and guidance, but it isn't. It's because people have taken, I'm not going to do this approach, and buried their head in the sand. It's not going to happen to me. And I've got countless examples which I'll be sharing with members at National Congress of how this has gone badly wrong.
And this is where we, you know, again, you know, we're sort of representing in Australia, because, you know, our problems are their problems, etc. And this is where the integration part really works. And it's great that, Tim, you're going to be part of that, as I know Susan's going over as well from an educational point of view. And this is about working together, you know, to really help members around the globe, isn't it, really? I don't know if there's any more questions. I think there was a message from Charles saying IFA members in Ghana are struggling for recognition. Charles, are you meaning about the actual recognition as an IFA member in practice or in industry, or are we talking about the identification, etc.? Maybe you can put a little question to us or an answer to that. Unless, Tim, you wanted to ask, can you reply to that?
I'm not sure what he's referring to about Ghana. I think it's about the recognition as a whole in Ghana.
Recognition. So that's probably something we could refer to John Edwards as the international person. I think you've already answered that, Robin, haven't you, as well? So
yeah, that's what I said. It's going to take a couple of days or give John. I'm not sure of John's schedule and what meetings he's got organised, so we'll have to give him some time to respond to that, Charles. So
but we'll certainly take it on board. And again, this is what we're here for everybody that's joined the meeting today. Unless we know what your problems are or your questions are, we can't take those forward. Some we can answer straight away, some we can't. So again, this is where you need to tap into the people that are, we are volunteers, like, we put our hand up and we'll put ourselves in this position because again, we want to help our members and the Institute move forward. I'm conscious time is moving on. And again, I would like to see more engagement from members. You're sitting behind your screens. We can't see you. You can see us. And I say no question is silly. And I'm sure there's some questions out there just to try and finalise the session on.
Can I ask a quick question, Ian?
Of course, Tim.
So as part of company law changes, there's going to be changes to accounts. So from the 1st of April 2027, all accounts must be filed using commercial software.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what people are doing about that. So I know Companies House have said they're going to start contacting the registered email address of all companies on their register and allowing them to prepare for this change. And they said they should be starting to send out emails from 1st of July 2025. So I wondered, if anybody had received these emails, because I've not been made aware of receiving them, but also what people are doing to plan for this, because there's some quite fundamental changes coming to what we're going to have to rip out in terms of changes to small company filing, having to put profit and loss and balance sheets there potentially for various elements, a lot more reporting requirements. So I just air that and just wonder if people are aware of it and what they're doing about it, Ian, as a just
and that's the thing. And I think we probably haven't got time to do another poll because I think Hayden's probably working hard in the background. But certainly it's for everybody that's attending today to take that on board. Again, I mentioned right at the beginning, it's important that we all do our CPD. Continued professional development is about helping us do our job right. And yes, okay, every institute will set goals for that, but let's be aware that there's no point in having half your CPD on something you never deal with. That's not CPD in my view. I always remember going to see a member to do a visit on them, and they specifically looked after charities. Tim will smile at this one, and that's all their clients were charities. But all their CPD was non-charity. Well, that's not relevant. So again, if this is our everyday job, this is what we do, we have an obligation to ensure that we know what we're doing and to keep on top of that. And learning, in my view, you can never stop learning.
I completely agree with that, Ian. And conversely, it's about thinking about your client base and what CPD you need to actually support them. I remember a similar story, but looking at a CPD log of somebody and noticed one of the major educational platforms that he'd looked at. He'd actually done a course at Sunderland University on beer brewing, And I challenged him on this and said, what is that? And why are you putting that down as CPD? And he said, because nearly all of my clients are microbreweries and I want to understand the process that's going on. And I thought, that's perfect. I wish I'd had that option when I was in practice.
But it's very relevant, isn't it? I mean, that is again, and say, I don't want to sit here and dictate to fellow members. That's not what we're here for. We're here to help each other, really. It's a bit like the use of my community. I do see the odd messages on there for help and guidance. That's great because it's a secure area that actually we know it's only members area. So again, please do use it. And people will pick those and other members will pick those and give answers, as I've seen each week. And it's good. I'd like to see more interaction on that because it is about helping each other. So if you've not already joined my community, please do sign up to it and actually take a look and use it. And I think, again, my understanding from an IPA point of view is that the website and the digital awareness of what we're doing is going to be improved. There will be a new website coming on board early part of next year, and that as well in about my community. You know, I've been a long advocate of, can we not have a hat to use, because we all, you know, some of us probably struggle with apps sometimes, but actually it's about the ease of using something, isn't it? And not logging in and things like that. So I think they've taken that on board. It all takes time. It's all about investment. But this is where being part of a global group really helps us. We're not just a standalone small institute in the UK. And again, guys who've joined us today, you know, I'm very proud to be, and I know Robin is, members of the IFA as part of the IPA group. And I think we are at the right level to help that micro small business in the UK, which is really the backbone of the country, really. But there's lots of challenges that are ahead of us. You know, we have the budget coming up at the end of November, and clients, probably your clients, are already asking questions that we do not have answers to. So I think it's, you know, again, we want to hear from you what you want to hear from us. You know, what CPD do you want us to put on to assist you to help to do your job, to be able to advise your clients. And again, this is the interaction we need from you, that actually we will provide it if we know you need it. And I say, going back to where we are in the world at the moment, you know, there's a lot of struggles, as we know, and there's a lot of situations that can affect our clients, and we are therefore their business advisors. Robin said that, didn't you, Robin? That, you know, it's not just doing the accounts and tax return or the company's house submission. It is about.
Yeah, there's more to it, isn't there? Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, go on, Robin.
Yeah, there's more to it. People set up a business, they haven't really a clue how to run the administration side of it. So, you know, they're good at what, you know, they'd learned welding. They can weld, they can put stuff together in that respect. But you know, they then need us to teach them at least how to do an invoice on a piece of accounting software, and then we can come in and support with the rest of it, because they don't necessarily need to do that. They can just pay us to do it. But then there's the interpretation of that, and then there's sort of saying, well, how are you going to grow? How are you going to, is there something that you can get that's going to be, you're going to just repeat, so that you can do that 5 times a week, 10 times a week, 20 times a week to make more money? I mean, we're there to challenge them as to how to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as a result of that, our fees grow.
Yeah, and I think again, you know, we've probably spoken about this a lot over the last few years, about that advisory role and how do we charge for it. And again, I know the Institute is putting on various webinars about that, because again, it is that mindset, that change of mind.
Yeah,
how do we charge and educate clients that we're giving value? Because again, you know, you could argue that in another 2 or 3 years, you know, clients, a lot with the digital awareness and everything else is happening out there, that some of our work will change from that compliance work to that advisory work. So it's about protecting what we have, and our livelihoods, really. So again, this is about your engagement, that those that are listening to us, and I would hope it's beneficial to you. You know, we can only tell you, Robin and I, and my guests can only tell you what we know, and to help you, really. Before we close, obviously I'm conscious that, you know, I mentioned right at the beginning about the regional ambassadors. We do have 3 regions with no ambassadors, which is really sad. And you know, I can tell you, yes, okay, there's a bit of time and commitment involved, but I find and have found it very rewarding. Robin, I'm sure you have and do as well.
Yeah. If we got a bit of time, go back onto my region if you'd like.
Yeah, and you know, we want people to volunteer and be part of it and be part of the family of the IFA, really. And you know, Duncan Walker retired in the summer after 20 years as being run in Scotland. We now don't have an ambassador. We want to. We're sending Arthur up there next week as a good Scot.
I'll be fine.
To go and twist some people's arms. I think, is that right, Arthur?
I thought he was going to come from Australia every time.
He keeps putting himself on mute.
I am. Yes, I will go there.
Because he needs to see his dad every more often.
Yeah, I'll try and motivate someone to step up.
Absolutely. But we also need somebody in the southern region, across the south of the UK, but also the southwest, where we've had a vacancy for a long time. This is not about, spending hours and hours and hours. This, the team at the IFA are fantastic. They will help you. They will obviously organise speakers. But again, it's not just about the speakers, it's about networking and meeting other members. So I applaud you to, if there's anybody here today who really wants to have a go and thinks they've got time, happy to have a chat. Jonathan and I, we can do a Teams or a Zoom call with you, just explain it, or even in the areas that we've got ambassadors to help that ambassador, because you might be the next ambassador. So I'm going to keep on about it because, we can't be here.
Necessary.
Can we, Robin? Hand over.
No, we can't go on forever. And so, I mean, yours is probably slightly different, but I've got half the country just about. So we've recently we had Kay in Newcastle come to us and said, we've got nothing in Newcastle for the IFA, and I'd like to run a branch meeting. So I went up and met her in August, and from that we've got one on the 23rd of October in Newcastle at her offices. If they can hold about 10 or 15, if there's more people in that area that are invited, because we don't necessarily just want to be IFA members, use your professional contacts, whether it's a solicitor, you can even introduce them maybe to speak at a future one, bank managers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Potentially, and then also there's sometimes a representative from Companies House or HMRC that can come to them. So it's not just us that we necessarily want to have there. It might be that a local business coach that goes around that you work sort of with, or as a client, and you think, well, they could maybe help my clients, or they could maybe help the clients of our colleagues. So, get them to come as well. So think about who you can bring to these branch meetings to make them more vibrant. And then, yes, so I need
also
somebody.
It gets the message across. It gets the message out there to other professions, and
the IFA is a good organisation.
That as members of the IFA, we are professional. We can do the job. I say to, because people ask me the question, I say, well, the only thing we don't do is audit and international tax. And I've actually encouraged a few younger people where they're struggling with ICAW or ACCA. Because they don't do audit, they don't do international tax, to come over to us, and that's been a real benefit. Because I look at my situation, and I, as a member of the IFA, has done me no harm whatsoever. And as you can see with my sign behind me, I now belong and was bought out by a top 20 company. So if there's anything to follow, do that, because your business is worth money. So again, this is about not thinking that you're not at that level, because we all are, as long as we do our CPD. Correct, Tim?
Correct, Ian. So we do CPD, we're all sorted. There's a couple of questions in the Q&A, and I don't know if you want to have a look at those.
Yes, so I've answered David, who I know quite well.
No, I mean the Q&A one.
Oh, sorry, I'm just conscious of time as well.
Yeah.
That doesn't come up automatically. Okay, IFA should sign an MOU with other accounting professional bodies. This will help members to get exemptions.
Well, we do offer exemptions, Ian.
Yes.
So when somebody's applying, we get Susan goes through and looks at transcripts of other qualifications, and based on what qualifications you've got, you can get exemptions. So we already have that. I'm not sure an MOU is required for that.
No, and I think I can see where the member's coming from, because there is also a situation where we are really encouraging the other professional bodies to work the other way. That's more difficult, I have
Yes.
to say, with the larger bodies. You know, about recognition, I totally understand that. That is something that has been discussed at board level, and whether we can obviously, you know, encourage those bodies to look at our qualifications and take the exemption there that way. That's ongoing. And then the other question is, do you provide support and mentoring for members who want to set up a new practice? The answer is yes, very much so. And Tim and I were running, starting out in practice as webinars and face to face. This year's there's been lots going on this year with AML and our supervisory part of the institute, and with OPBAS. I know, Tim, we are thinking about that going forward. But again, this is where your regional ambassadors, including myself, can talk to you. Just make contact with us. Our details are on the website, and we can either put you together with another member, or obviously we're here to help as well. So I hopefully that's answers those questions.
Those starting out in practice workshops are invaluable because they go through everything that you need. It goes you through a step-by-step process, and they're designed as a workshop, so they're interactive, and the face-to-face work far better, so we can talk to you and go through and build up a rapport. And we've had people go on to have successful practices from those. So look out for those and speak to your ambassadors to actually put our ideas forward.
And the final note, because I'm just concerned we're running over time, is all of this only works with you guys. We need your input, your engagement, your commitment to actually be part of it, because we can put lots of things on, we volunteer, but actually we need that engagement from you guys to be part of it, because otherwise it can be slightly soul destroying when, you know, you only have 5 people turn up at a meeting. We don't want that. Let's work together. Let's build the institute that we love. I love it. To make it bigger and better, I suppose, really, but to keep that feel that we're here for each other. Robin, do you any final comments from you?
No, I think, as you say, in terms of that mentoring point, yes, and you know, you get it. When I set up in practice, it was the branch meeting that sort of, you then met somebody who was also in practice, and you had that chance to discuss things. We certainly in the Leeds part of the region, we always go for a meal afterwards, and we talk about all things pertaining to our practices within the group. That it's about 10 or 12 of us that usually go out of the whole group that meet, but more can go, and that gives a lot of help, and you know, we can challenge each other on a more personal basis than perhaps just in a branch meeting.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Just a couple more questions. Obviously, mutual recognition agreement. Again, I'll take that away. Tim and I will take that away, and I don't know who that's from, but obviously we can come back to that and investigate.
I don't know why anybody would want to join another professional body.
Absolutely. I have to say, as being part of Zenadin now, we come under ICAW. I tried to get the IFA in there, didn't quite work. But I am still an IFA member, and that goes along with ICAW and ACCA, so if it's great. See, everybody's asking questions now. Is it possible to be able to get a reference at our back office whenever we book for any event?
You don't get a confirmation email when you've booked?
I think you do, don't you? Under the Hayley, maybe will answer that. If you can put something in the chat box, Hayley, could you do that for me? And I know sometimes event things they do send out reminders, but again, you know, we all have to take responsibility, don't we? So saying I never get confirmation of my booking. Hayley, if you could ask you, I'm just conscious of time as well. So if you could just reply, members will send confirmation emails when booking events. Okay, so if you've got a problem getting that through, you might have to check your junk box, or any part of your email account. If not, if you give Hayley a ring at the office, again, all the team are there to help us. So again, anything like that, please do contact the office. Guys, thank you. Arthur, thank you very much for your attendance. I know you're in the London office today. Tim, as always a delight to work and do these functions with you. So
likewise, Ian, always a pleasure.
Looking forward to seeing you on Monday. Robin, as always, thank you for your input. I'll tell the others that we had the best meeting ever. And
yeah, we got up their fees for missing.
And again, please, guys, take away today what I've said and what Tim has said and the others, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks,
Bye.